if you don't have the budget to make a really big, really polished music video, a lot of the time a medium-sized music video will hurt the release of the song instead of help it. Because instead of branding you up, it sort of brands you down as somebody who's maybe doesn't have a professional team, or they don't have a big budget, and that becomes distracting somewhat to the marketing of the song. And so I think this becomes a great alternative for those. Maybe they still go to Berklee College of Music and they don't have a lot of extra money to be shooting music videos to their first early music. The lyric video is a really strong visual that does not communicate to the viewer, no budget, but at the same time, it is for a much smaller budget than what a big music video would be.
You're listening to Music Growth Talks, the podcast for musicpreneurs, with Andrew Apanov.
Hello everyone, Andrew here with a new episode of the Music Growth Talks podcast. As it often happens towards the end of the year, we've slowed down on delivering new shows a bit, but we'll return to the regular 2 episodes per month schedule very soon. Be sure about that. And if you've been looking forward to a new episode from me, I'm pretty confident this one is worth your wait, as it's a conversation with a successful musician and an entrepreneur. It's my favorite combo. The name of the guest is iLLvibe. He is an acclaimed hip-hop artist and the founder of lyricvids.com, a popular lyric video creation service. iLLvibe was a speaker at Future Music Forum in Barcelona, a conference that I attended a few months back, and I'm truly glad I was at his session. I just knew I wanted him on the podcast right away, as that workshop was amazing, very interesting, and to the point. And here we are. Ili agreed to be my guest on Music Growth Talks, and in this conversation we talked about the growing popularity of video content in music, when lyric videos help in particular, and when not to do a full music video. Ili shared his take on vertical videos, explaining how to reach new fans on social media by giving them more grab points for things to like. I asked quite a few questions about ads here, and Ili did share a bunch of practical great tips on that as well. Overall, lots of useful information here in my opinion. Listen to it in full and let us know what you think. Following Ili's advice, which you will hear towards the end of our conversation, I'm giving you a very specific call to action today. Since he's quite active on Twitter, please tweet what you think about this episode, tagging both iLLvibe and me. So the handles are iLLvibe Music and Meta Andrew. So at iLLvibe Music and at Meta Andrew. You can also find a link to his Twitter profile and all the websites and platforms we're talking about on these episodes in the show notes. Just go to datamusic.com. If you want to remember just one URL, just go to datamusic.com, find a post about this very show, and you will find it all there. And please tweet us. Let us know what you think on Twitter today. And now to our chat with iLLvibe. Ili, welcome to Music Growth Talks. I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
What's the latest with iLLvibe, music-wise? What's you've been working on lately? Just curious.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Music is definitely my first love, and all of the other stuff that I think we'll talk about today kind of sprouted out from that love of making music and releasing it. So I'm still very much working on my solo music, so to speak. iLLvibe has an album out this year, Anti-Gravity. I've been promoting it and traveling around and performing the songs from that. And behind the scenes, we're beginning to write and record the music that we'll put out next year. So, as we wrap up album release and promotion, we begin to think about what, the next sounds are going to sound like and where do I want to go musically from there. And, simultaneously here in Toronto, Canada, where I'm based, we relaunched my record label, Heavy Ox Records, along with a location and a production house and a recording studio in Toronto. And that's been taking a lot of time in the last month as well. And lastly, I got married a couple weeks ago. So that's kind of been what I've been doing. Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Lots of things going on. And yeah, I mean, it seems like a busy period for you for sure. So to everyone listening to us, go to the show notes for all the links to all the related stuff, social media profiles and the websites. And yeah, of course, we link into lyricvids.com as well there. Yeah, so feel free to mention a few words about that project of yours, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to the music, which is, of course, like I said, is where my heart is, we also run a company called lyricvids.com. We're the web's #1 web-based lyric video animation company. So we do all kinds of digital content, from animated lyric videos for artists releasing music, but we also sometimes even do festival screens or show screens for behind, DJs and bands and this type of thing, and also promotional videos and some other stuff. Just the idea is to make motion graphics and that really impactful style graphic that we've all come to love from the intros to movies and commercials and TV, to make that available to independent artists and musicians.
There is a lot of talk about the growth of importance and popularity of videos on social media these days, and the data, and there is a lot of studies that prove that. So it seems to be a good time to be in the business and for artists to pay more attention to video. Have you? Yeah, I mean, it's a topic for the whole podcast essentially. But do you have any maybe particular examples of anything recent where you could see how a piece of content created with your platform really directly helped with something measurable, such as sales or growth in following or anything else? Any particular case study?
Yeah, so what I do lack, unfortunately, coming from lyricviz.com, where we sit in the team for the artist is essentially we are like the hired agency to bring their song to life in a visual medium, So a lot of the time, we actually aren't privy to the retail numbers of those artists later in the process. I think labels aren't accustomed to sharing that data. But here's what I will say. And because we don't have access to that data, what we've really focused on is the branding and the tangible aspects that you can really measure from a distance. And so here are two examples that we see quite a bit. One of them is a collaboration situation where an artist has collaborated with another artist. Maybe they're a little bit more famous than them, or maybe they live, they're equally as big, but in a different market, in a different country. And they do a collaboration. And obviously the next thought is, we need a really great video for this. But the cost associated with getting that quote unquote legendary artist into a music video, or to travel to Europe to shoot the music video, is cost prohibitive for that particular act. The lyric video becomes a really strong replacement that allows them to function with all of the next logical steps, the release of the video and the promotion of the video, and using video to drive viewers back to Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes, et cetera, et cetera. You can do all of those things without blowing your entire album budget and on an appearance fee for a celebrity singer that you may have been able to get onto your album. That actually happens quite a bit in urban music, where you can maybe, when I'm performing at a festival, iLLvibe, I'm chatting with some of these artists that are much bigger than myself. And one of the goals is that if I have some real chemistry with somebody, that down the road they might want to collaborate with me. And the reality is, to make a video for that is nearly impossible. And so we really help solve that problem. And I think that's worth considering, is situations where you're helping to solve a problem. The other thing that I see really often is, if you don't have the budget to make a really big, really polished music video, a lot of the time a medium-sized music video will hurt the release of the song instead of help it. Because instead of branding you up, it sort of brands you down as somebody who's maybe doesn't have a professional team, or they don't have a big budget, and that becomes distracting somewhat to the marketing of the song. And so I think this becomes a great alternative for those, maybe they still go to Berklee College of Music and they don't have a lot of extra money to be shooting music videos to their first early music. The lyric video is a really strong visual that does not communicate to the viewer, no budget, but at the same time, it is for a much smaller budget than what a big music video would be. So in a lot of ways, I think we help really solve a problem. I think that's kind of where we fit.
That's a really good point. If several points you've made, and what we at our agency see is that sometimes it's really good to test a song with a lyric video and even decide if you want to do a music video or not. And it's so common to see several videos on a YouTube channel of an artist. Like it can be a simple visualizer thing, and then a lyric video and music video. Like especially on social media, it's good because you can chop these videos into smaller things and just post it in different formats and so on. A very technical question to you. I just listening to some podcast about yet another podcast episode about the growth of vertical videos. Do you have any inputs on vertical videos and video content?
Yeah, so the thing that I think is interesting about it is that it hasn't seemed, the cool factor is definitely there. Like people seem to think it's quite cool, and maybe you can comment, because I would enjoy if you share this perspective with me. But the cool factor is quite there. But I don't find it's done a great job of like a high usage rate or replacing YouTube or other video platforms. Like people think it's cool, but I don't find them going to watch a lot of vertical videos over a period of time. Would you agree? Like, do you see people spending a lot of time watching vertical videos?
Oh yeah, a lot of videos from different creators probably, but from one creator, like one long piece, like a music video, even if it's 4 or 5 minutes, I don't think so. Yeah, it's really it's mobile, it's on the go.
Oh, they want to be able to flip through things. So yeah, I think that's the ultimate lesson. One of the things that I like to think about, and this thing never stays the same over time, right? It's always shifting, is how are people using that particular medium? Do they want to watch it for 10 seconds? Where are they? How engaged are they? Is it the kind of thing where, I think Facebook video, when I watch a Facebook video, I watch 10 or 20 or 30 seconds, never more than that, unless I'm really, really engaged. But on YouTube, I'm way more likely to put it on and leave it on in the background. And I try to keep those things in mind when I'm producing content for each of those platforms, that they really are watched in a slightly different but kind of important way.
Yeah. I know these are very important topics. So your session, I'm glad I had a chance to attend at Future Music Forum. It was really, really interesting and insightful. And the title of it was The Importance of Artists Thinking Like Content Creators. So can you summarize the idea you've got here? And maybe, I would love us to find time to talk about creating funnels specifically and how you use ads on Facebook and other platforms alongside just proper content creation. Yeah. So what could you comment on the concept you presented there?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially the way I look at it is, and it's a great segue from where we actually just were, because if you look at how people use each of the social media platforms, there's some really important ways that they're used. And the one that I think is worth focusing on is Instagram is a great example. Instagram, the way it's built, it has a high probability of people being able to stumble upon a new user account. I find on Facebook, I mostly try to stay internal to my friends. I might add a friend's friend. It's very unlikely that I'm going to hit a hashtag, for example, and find myself stumbling upon brand new people that I've never heard of. Instagram actually has some really great cross-stream functionality like hashtags that allow you to really reach out to new people. And then, of course, to grow upon that concept, the idea of using Instagram ads as well. So I guess the principle is that we're looking to release a song. That's ultimately the piece of art, right? It's whether it's a song or it's a poem or it's a short film you made. I think the principle is the same, but you've got this song and you want to release it to the world. And ultimately, it's really about trying to present that song in front of as many people as possible and tell a story that's interesting and engaging enough that those people want to kind of follow that back to the source and find out, who is the artist, where is this song on streaming platforms? How can I see it live? These are some of the things that they might want to do in best case scenario, when they find this new song. So how do they find the song? You can't just post a song on on Instagram.
Yeah.
You could post it with an image, but that's not super engaging. I think if you really were to case study it and just think from scratch, you get a blank piece of paper out, how could I get someone's interest with a song on Instagram? And I think pretty quickly you're going to get to some of the places that you and I are talking about, whether it's lyric video or a visualizer or some kind of animation, or maybe a 60-second music video that's getting quite popular, like where it's not even a full music video. These are the types of things that could capture someone's attention and tell your story and leave a couple of points in that story for people to kind of fall in love with, for them to identify with.
Right.
Maybe it's that you're telling the story of an underdog. That's one I talk about a lot, because there are a lot of people out there where they'll immediately gravitate towards that. And if you do a good job of presenting that aspect of yourself within the content, whether it's within the video or within the lyrics that are presented in a certain way, maybe through a lyric video, to ensure that the viewer is seeing that this is what you're singing about. I think there's something to that, is you want to give them as many, grab points as possible for things to like, whether it's the video, the song, the message, the fact that you're a cool punk rocker who doesn't give a heck. Like, these are the types of things that people are looking for when they're scrolling through Instagram.
The challenge is to reach the people with these beautiful pieces of content that you create. Although, I mean, it's something that we want to emphasize, the fact that a creation of a proper narrative and content is crucial. So many musicians, unfortunately, kind of skip this step and just try to drive traffic attention to their accounts, while there may be not too many interesting things to watch or check out. So this part is crucial.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, because I think even if you and I weren't in the music business, you know what I mean? And we were just to talk about, like, somebody wants a bunch of people to come give them 5 seconds, come give them some of their attention over here. And then you get there and you look around a little bit and you go, there's nothing here. There's, like, you've not given them any reason to be excited, and yet you expect excitement. And I think if you really look at it and you say, okay, I want people to come to my Instagram account and think that this person is interesting enough to want to go to the link in their profile and listen to their song. That's ultimately what for most bands or acts, that's what we're talking about. Well, what are the types of things that would make you want to do that? Maybe if they were really funny, or if the photography was mind-blowing, or if they had figured out some cool kind of FX or like camera tricks. These are all the kinds of things that if I were to see on Instagram, I would go back probably to the profile and be like, cool, like, who's this person? Oh, they're a singer? Oh, let me check out their song. And so here's the thing. We're talking about surprising and delighting and entertaining right now, but it needs to be equally paired with it being authentic to you, so that when they get to the song, it's like, wow, this makes sense that this is the song by that person. Like, it all kind of, like, I think the word you used was narrative. And it's like, I think that's a really powerful word, because you don't just want to do this willy-nilly and be like, hey, iLLvibe said that we should do like cool effects. It's like, well, if you're like a folk band, maybe that's not the right thing for you. But maybe, fun 1-minute covers of modern songs in your band's folk style would be a really fun viral video that would make people want to consider going into the profile and then later clicking through to the music. And so I think it's really about, when I talk about this, I try not to give the answer. It's more of the algorithm, because if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense that what you really want to do is amplify your story and make it easy to understand, so that people can follow that story back to you and then fall in love with your music. And I think once you really internalize that, that's quite an easy concept.
Yeah, no, that perfectly makes sense. So going back to what you touched upon a bit, so any additional recommendations for bringing attention to yourself using the algorithms? So creating great content and self is the best marketing strategy, because YouTube and Instagram, all these platforms will notice if the content is being watched and being engaged with, and will push it to others. So many musicians don't believe that it's working, but it's just because it's not working for them. But actually, platforms are really good at this personalization, because their whole business is built on keeping people in the app, be it in YouTube or Facebook or whatever, or stories on Instagram. So that's one. And so things like hashtags is a good example. So have you been utilizing ads a lot yourself?
Yeah, I think, and the reason why I focus so much on what we've been talking about so far, the authenticity and like the cool factor of creating the content, is because the ads don't work if you don't load them with the potent ammunition.
Right.
So once you've got that established, yeah, it's absolutely time to start looking at ads. And by the way, just as a brief side, the reason I sometimes mention hashtags, which are far less effective than ads, is I do like to open it up to people who potentially don't have a big budget. And hashtags are like a small budget way of creating small bits of advertising for your posts and your content. So for someone who doesn't have an advertising budget, I think that's always a good entry point.
So what is, sorry for interrupting you, but what exactly do you recommend there? Like an example, just researching, relevant hashtags?
Yeah, it's relevant hashtags to you. So if let's say you're a singer and you really want to launch yourself as the singer-songwriter It's hashtags like hashtag singer-songwriter, hashtag songwriter, hashtag female songwriter. And these are the types of things that are going to get a little bit of cross-pollination from other people in kind of your space. And advertising works like that, but on steroids. And we can talk a bit about that in a second. But again, for people who don't have budget for advertising yet, if some young musician is listening to this, that's a great first step into trying to get your content exposed by other people who are kind of in your lane. Maybe they're moving parallel to you. Maybe they're fans. Maybe they're people who are looking for people in your lane. You know, I've met a couple of publishers and people like that who followed hashtags back to me because I was just documenting what I was doing well.
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, by the way, to be clear, I would want us to talk about just the content creation for hours. It's not that I'm forcing you to talk about ads. I just know that, first of all, a lot of our listeners are waiting for that moment. And then I have a few more questions to you, so I want us to cover as much as possible. But I hope that our listeners get your point well, that you just cannot skip this process of creating great, authentic content and finding your voice on social media. It's very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like anything else, you know, shows get onto major network television shows or network television stations all the time and are canceled because they aren't entertaining. So at the end of the day, no matter how many people are watching, if it is not entertaining, you ultimately can be working yourself in reverse, and that people will make their minds up that this is not entertaining and they can move on. So it really is about finding something really interesting and dynamic about your thing and packaging it in a cool way and then presenting it on your Instagram and other social media sites as well. Especially when you get into the advertising realm, it's not just Instagram, because Facebook is great. I use Twitter a little bit less, but I do a little bit there, and then on YouTube as well. Because connecting it to the hashtag and what we've talked so far, you know, ads, what it's really about, I think the thesis about ads is your ability to target. I think for people who've never bought a social media ad before and never kind of put some money there, you can target so deeply that you can really get inside the heads of the people who will see the ad in the future. So you think about, you know, how old are the people who listen to your music? Because for me, you know, it's definitely, I get very few bits of fan mail for people over 50. I know this. So a lot of the time when I'm buying an ad, I immediately run it between 19, which means you're old enough to even come see me live in concert, and like 47 or something like that, because I know that's the range on my ads. And then it gets so much deeper than that when you go geographics. Maybe you use your Spotify numbers to advertise in a market where it's already the 5th or 6th highest streaming city on your Spotify numbers, for example. And it's like, well, let's fuel that fire so we can potentially create a little bit of an ecosystem there where people have heard my name and they're sharing my music. And you can target geographically. You can target based on the things they like, the artists that they like, and the artists that they listen to. On Twitter, you can advertise based on who they've tweeted about before. So if they've tweeted about artists that sound like you, it will simply show a link to your music video to those people at some point. And if you really think about that, that gives you the ability to handpick potential fans based on their likelihood to become super fans of you. And that's when you have to really be self-aware of what do you sound like? What do you look like? Who are your potential fans? What types of people are those? You know, who are they listening to right now? Who are the 5 artists that the people that are going to be your number one fan are listening to right now? And we can, through ads on each of these platforms and positioning content in those places, you can put your little bit of content in front of the people that, based on your hard thinking and maybe a little bit of research, are listening to. And it's like, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. I would want to hear your thoughts or comments on what kind of content to advertise here. What's commonly happening is the musicians go on YouTube ads, set up some Facebook ads, driving traffic to their store, trying to sell their physical product, a CD, a merch, or even a digital copy of their album to strangers, while, you know, not driving traffic through these paid channels to the great content that they created, which is free out there. It doesn't sell anything, but may serve a different kind of purpose. So what kind of strategy do you usually use in terms of which kind of content, pieces of content to show to what kind of audiences?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. For me, as soon as you get into the realm of you're targeting the kinds of super fans who tweet about their favorite artists and, you know, are like talking about their favorite artists on social media, these are like young music super fans. So honestly, I'm in the lyric video space for a reason, because they really respond well to content that looks like it was produced for them. And I think lyric videos are a good example of that, because when they watch it, there's no mystery if this was made for MTV or if this is the label's vision for the artist. A lyric video feels like a piece of content gifted to the fans. And it also gives the fans a chance to learn the lyrics or fall in love with the hook maybe a little bit more quickly because they're reading it while they're listening to it. And the other thing about lyric videos is through color and visual, they're so highly branded. Like, let's say you're a punk rock type singer. We could do so many little punk rock visuals in the video that the viewer is getting that punk rock aesthetic washing over them for the full 60 seconds of the video, presuming that they watch all the way through it. And so it's just a really potent piece of branding. But for myself, as iLLvibe, for example, I've also done a lot of experimentation recently with the short music video. So it's me performing the song. It's a music video, but there's no longer version on YouTube. It's like a commercial for the song in a lot of ways. And I think that's interesting too, because when it works, if someone's digging the record and the visual speaks to them, instead of splitting the audience, some of them end up on YouTube watching the whole video, and some of them end up on your streaming platform, which is, I think, the ultimate destination for most acts. It really just pushes people to the streaming platform because it's a commercial for that.
Yeah.
You know,
a great point. Yeah, no, it's a great tip because it's also easier relatively to create a short video. So I mean, good news. Essentially, you can achieve a lot.
That is totally what I'm saying. And the other thing is, here's an important phrase that people should learn and keep in mind. And the phrase is call to action. Because when the video ends, 45 seconds, it's me performing, it's dynamic, you're into it, you're like, who's this guy? And then it ends. The person's just going to keep scrolling. Unless maybe you say, the song is available right now on Spotify. The link's in my bio. Also, this is the title of it or whatever. It's like, well, now you've told them that if they're really enjoying it, here's what you could do. You can go play the song. And I think sometimes it's play the song. Sometimes it's, go follow me on this new social media platform, or I'm trying to get my Twitter numbers up, or whatever the metric you're trying to get up is. I think for most, it's ultimately Spotify, Apple Music, and that kind of thing. But that call to action phrase is super important because otherwise you've built up all this like energy with them. And when they leave, it gets kind of expelled and wasted. And so I think that call to action is important,
So important. It's crucial. One of the highlights of your session was related to CDA when you mentioned when you get some fan mail, some hardcore fans, diehard fans of yours reach out with some positive feedback. So what you do in these cases, you may potentially ask them to go elsewhere and do a particular action, like leaving the same comment elsewhere, kind of turning it into something that's more valuable to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So as I recall it, we're talking about educating your super fans, because once you start to get to that spot where you've got like, I've got like 40 odd people who it's like everything I do, they literally comment like, what can I do to help you make this pop, Illy? You know what I mean? And I have 40 and, Selena Gomez has 400,000, but everybody has a certain number of these super fans.
Yeah.
And they want to help you. And so I think an important thing you could do is almost from like a management perspective, like arm them with the information of what's helpful to you, because them playlisting your song on Spotify is really helpful. Spotify seeing that your song was added to 100 playlists in the first day is amazing in terms of converting your fans to actual Spotify numbers. And if your super fans don't know that, then maybe they'll never ever do it instead of doing it every single time. And I think those types of things are important. So I often use my Facebook for that. I'll write a little mini blog post like, hey guys, my album's about to come out, here's the 3 ways you can really help the release. Instead of commenting on Facebook, comment on YouTube, because YouTube comments are forever and Facebook comments are lost on the newsfeed. It's like once you tell your fans that one time, they remember that, and then they start to leave those comments in the important places and that type of thing,
And you bring these people to particular platforms such as Spotify and YouTube. In this case, it's not spread all over your profiles. If it's 10, 40, 400 people, you want to ensure that the great feedback and the actions they do to support you are accumulated on just a couple platforms, because it will make a difference for the algorithms, how it's perceived by public, by promoters and booking agents and all this good stuff. Great ideas here. Is there anything else from that presentation of yours, or anything else related to this huge topic about content creation? I would really like to have you on this show sometime in the future again, so we talk a bit about it more. But yeah, is there anything else you would like to share with us or with the musicians listening to us right now?
I think I'd just like to double down on what ultimately matters is the seed at the beginning. Every musician knows that the music video doesn't matter if the music isn't great, and it's like, it really does build out from there in that exact same way. So in the exact same way that you know when you're picking the single that you want to promote, I don't know a single musician who doesn't really think over the quality of the song and is it the right song and does it really speak to their voice and who they are. It's like the music video or the content or the lyric video or whatever you make that becomes the next layer outside that. You really want to approach that in the exact same way. Is this really authentic? Is this really interesting? Does this really speak to our fans? And then once you have the content, you really want the ads to feel just as authentic. It's like these layers of the same thing. And it's hard for a musician to think of the ads as being the same thing as their music, but keeping in mind that for the new fans, they're really all one experience. They click the ad, they see the video or whatever order, you know what I mean? They see the video, they click the ad, and they go to the song. It's one user experience. And if you can really internalize that, I think you can tell your story better.
Time for a call to action. Considering that most of our listeners are industry people and musicians for the most part, I guess you would want to mention something about lyric vids, maybe a couple of words on how how anyone interested in creating a lyric music video can, check you out, and what are the options maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So lyricvids.com, obviously the URL is right in the name. If you'd like to reach out to us, our email is lyricvids.com, DOTCOM @gmail.com. So, to connect it to what we've been talking about throughout this interview, one of the things that we're really great at is internalizing the artist and their brand and the song and the single artwork and really creating a lyric video that fits perfectly in the universe that they've already started to create. Whether it's the themes or the colors, we're obviously really great at looking at the fonts you've already begun to have selected, and we can kind of turn that into a whole treatment when it comes to the text in the lyric video. So it feels almost like the single art or the logo for the artist is coming to life. These are the things that we like to do, is create seamless lyric videos. So it's not like, oh, who made that lyric video? It looks like the rest of the imagery is just moving and it's the visual representation of everything else. And I think if you can pull that off seamlessly, it really is an important piece of every release. It's like you've got the static image, you've got the audio, and the lyric video is this entertaining introduction to the fan so they can learn the words, and that meshes so perfectly with everything else that your team has already created. So that's what we do, and we do that at all budget levels. It starts at just $100 a verse for what we call our standard, and I think the most we've ever gotten is 5,000 euros for something super crazy. So everything on the spectrum we do, and it all has that custom seamless feel to it. And I think that's kind of what we're known for.
Great approach. So making videos that feed the branding of an artist properly. It's great because, clearly you got it. So I'm not surprised that you're doing it that way because, as anyone listening to this conversation could understand, you really understand it from the artist's perspective. You get it well, and I really like how your approach to explaining that to others and teaching that stuff. So keep it up. I can see like the crazy amounts of projects and things going on in your life right now. Good luck with everything. We'll keep an eye on lyricvids.com and what you do creatively as a musician. And just wanted to thank you for the great insights you've shared with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And for people who listen to podcasts, my wife and I have a podcast. It's called Damaged Goods Podcast. You can find it on any streaming platform. That
I'm linking to it as well, of course. Yeah, so it's in the show notes to everyone listening to us.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you a lot for listening. Don't forget about my call to action request. Please tweet us, iLLvibe Music and Meta Andrew. Let us know what you think if you have any questions or feedback, and I highly recommend you following Illy on his social media platforms. A great music artist, so you may just like his music stuff, and check out lyricvids.com and everything else he's working on. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know, and don't forget to keep an eye on new episodes. We are working on something cool and going to get back to the regular release schedule, as I mentioned. Thank you all for staying subscribed and listening to Music Growth Talks. See you next time.
You've been listening to Music Growth Talks with Andrew Apanoff. Find more episodes and subscribe at musicgrowthtalks.com.